Hello everyone, Red Smith here, back for another video. So, one of basic pieces of equipment that you're going to need if you're doing any sort of sand molding is the flask. The flask is basically a wooden box, almost always wooden, at least in a non-industrial setting, where it holds the green sand. It usually does not have a bottom or a top, but you can make bottles that do. Customize it how you need and for your needs. But with the basic, but you're going to need one if you're going to do any sort of green sand molding. Green sand molding is sand casting. Green sand is not actually green, it just refers to it not being baked or cured before being used in the molding process. And it's very cheap-ish. You can get 25 pounds of it off Amazon for not an inconsiderable amount of money. Then again, you can also make your own at home. It just takes knowing the right proportions of clay, water, and sand. Tip is basically teensiest amount of water, little about 10% clay, and then the rest sand. And you can make it out of play sand. Of course, the finer your sand, the more detail you get on your casting. So if you have extremely fine sand, you'll get more detail. But it may not allow air to escape fast enough, so it may not be appropriate for really large castings. On the other hand, if you get really coarse material, you're going to have to finish up that surface, or else it's going to just look super grainy. And if it's too big a grain, it might not hold in the material. So you're going to have to choose your battles there and study up a bit. Number one thing, always inform yourself. So I'm going to show you the materials I got for making a very simple small flask that I'm going to use in a later video. So first material up that we have is obviously some wood. Now, if you're like me and are cash strapped and don't have all the tools that you might want, you might not have a saw to cut your wood. Well, most places like Home Depot or Lowe's, these sort of home supply store, generally will have someone who's willing to cut wood for you. These are 8 6-inch pieces I have here, and that's what I'm going to use for the walls of the flask. Okay. Tip there, just be nice, be patient, and don't have like 50 boards for them to cut. If you're having them cut that much wood, they're not going to do it, or it's going to take them forever, and you're going to be that guy holding up the line. Just if you have one piece of if you have 1 or 2 pieces of wood, they're willing to cut it up for you. And this is just simply a 2 by 3 inch. So it's not quite 2 by 3 inches, but American standards aren't exact here. Well, they're exact. They're just not what they say. And then we of course have the rest for later projects. Next up we have a random thing. These are the latches. They actually provide spring pressure, putting these two surfaces to get together. If otherwise, they're just sort of there. And these things actually don't weigh a lot, so they might move like this. You want it to be held down firmly, especially if you're going to be moving the mold around. So this holds it down. So the board. So next up we have the screws I'm using, you can use basically use any screw that you want that's long enough. I suggest going in at least half an inch, more like an inch into the other piece to get the full binding effect. But these are meant for cement, but then again, these aren't going to be heavy duty things, so they'll be fine for the wood I got. It just so happens that this is the quantity, price, length, and rough size at the lowest price that I could get, and they just happen to be concrete anchors. Next up, we have an extension cord. So the extension cord is for the crucible, and this was by far the most expensive thing. This thing itself is near about $26 without tax, and it's only 25 feet long. However, the reason why I wanted it was 14 gauge, which means it can handle 15 amps. So everything runs on a specific amount of energy going through it. But that might be 120 volt, yes, but how much actual power is it pulling? Like, how much work is it trying to do it? Literally, how many watts is it trying to pull through that 120? Some, it's almost nothing, but there's still 120 volts. This is a heavy use one, so that's why I got the 25 foot, not the 50 foot, because the 50 foot one that was heavy use was like $70, and I ain't got no money for that, so I'm going to have to limit myself a bit and get only the 25 foot. But this is actually well above what I need, but I much rather have one cord that I can use over and over and over again without any stress about whether or not I'm going to overstress it because of poor engineering in my metal melting furnace, as opposed to and a little bit durable, then rather something cheaper but longer, but I'm always suspicious of. Last, second to last, but not least, are hinges. The one I'm going to make is a hinge type, so it's going to just fold up and fold down, which makes it easy to, especially for the shorter ones, makes it easy to just keep it together. It locates itself. I don't have to bother about, oh, is it there, is it not? There's different methods of locating, making sure that these things are exactly where they were when you molded it, plus it helps that they're parallel. I mean, technically you could just have wooden dowels here and then locate it that way, but that'll take work, and not everyone has the tools to do that, or the patience or the time. Just throw a couple screws in on one of these and then just done. Next, and not least, because I got these cut at Home Depot, they're a bit rough. Like, you can see the splinters on here on the edge. The wood surfaces are good, not good. This is a cheap piece of wood, and I specifically bought cheap pieces of wood because I know I'm literally going to burn these up when I inevitably make a mistake and put a bit of wood on there. It also is cheaper because these are untreated. You don't want to use treated boards in a coast thing. Don't burn treated boards in general, because the chemicals used are preservatives meant to keep insects, funguses out, all those burrowing pests as well, and those just so happen to be not good for humans. And if you burn them, you're breathing them in, unless you're wearing one of those HEPA masks. So untreated wood is the way to go. And this is just to smooth it out and make sure that the surfaces really do get nice and parallel and there aren't any weird bumps when selecting your wood, try to make it as straight as possible with as few knots as possible. Of course, this one has knots, like basically all wood, especially lower quality construction wood, but there aren't big holes going through my wood. It's just, this is a whole knot, not a knot with a huge amount of inclusion in there. Occlusion. Then, so this is just wood sandpaper. So all this together, including the thing, cost me $49.33 without tax. With a little bit more tax, it comes out to be about $52.50. Pack of sandpaper was $4.27. The extension cord was $25.97. The screws were just under $9 at $8.98. Then the hinges we have were $2.98, and then $3.48 for the $3.65 for the chest lash, and then of course for the actual wood was just under $3.50 at $3.48. So this is all together. So one of these might run you $25, but that's if you're buying everything new, and that includes sandpaper, 2 hinges. This, as I mentioned before, you can do this with basically these 2 hinges, which is like $4. This, some wooden dowel, and that's it. You don't need any of this. I'm just making a bit of a Cadillac here. I mean, you can use nails instead of this. Just remember to pre-drill your holes there as well. Like, if you're using end grain here, it has a tendency to split, especially if you're using larger nails that would go through the 2x4s. So just note that. So that's where I'll end this particular video and pick it up a little bit later. Thank you, and hope you like, share, and subscribe. That really helps out, and have a good day.